Hello, my loves. Today I want to talk about the importance of sometimes loving people from afar, and this is mainly applicable to the people in our lives who are really near and dear to us, so maybe family members or friends and or people who have just supported you in your life, and you've got a bit of this dynamic of an I owe you, or I still want you to be in my life, but maybe there's a struggle around, I don't want you out of my life, but things can't continue the way they are right now if I want to continue my growth journey. And that's something I'm going through right now with a near and dear person. And I've started to realize that as I've grown, this person doesn't know how to interact with me in the same way, and I don't know how to receive nourishment from them or get the best out of them. It's like this really hazy relationship where before I wanted to keep the relationship going, so I kind of just let them lead, but I was suppressing myself so much. And I realized the beginning of this week I spent so much time with people who were just amazing, completely magnetic, and I was so high vibe and I was so different, I was so me. And then I got back in touch with this other person, and literally within about 2 messages everything just came crashing down. And so I didn't even know, it was all very hazy. I wasn't really specifically sure what it is about them, but I just knew that every time that I interact with them, something in me locks up. I can't be that big magnetic growth self around them, and this can really hinder your progress when you're trying to grow, when you're trying to become more yourself. There are people who you're still trying to drag along with you because you love them and they've been a huge part of your life. And I'm not saying, there are some people where you do need to cut them out. Some people it's not possible, and sometimes we just don't want to. So in these scenarios, we need to be able to reframe what it means to love this person. So for me, I got into a dynamic where in order to love them, I felt like I had to meet them on their level. I had to always validate them, and this person is very insecure and quite needy and very uncertain, so they always need a reassurance, and created a savior complex in me. I always felt like I had to save them, and for a long while I didn't realize this was going on. And so it's really, really important that we start to draw a line between ourselves so that we're not merging with the other person. And that's what was happening for me. I'd immediately let this person in and have full access to me because I felt like that's what I needed to do. And if I did anything else, then I was pushing them away. I was making them upset because you could see the distress, or you could feel the distress in them if you, I don't know, gave them a slightly wrong glance or said slightly the wrong thing or didn't come to the rescue when they expected it or wanted it or needed it. And I then had this dynamic of, now I feel really guilty. You know, like I can't continue this way, but if I change, then I'm gonna feel really guilty, and I don't want to push them out of my life either. That doesn't feel good. So what's been working for me is, I first realized that I had this dynamic of they have full access to me and they're therefore a part of me. So the first thing I did was remember, even though this person and I, like, we are very intertwined, our lives are very intertwined, we know the same people, and treat them as if you've just met them, and remember that they have their own support, they have their own partner, they have their own friends, they have their own family, and see that as separate to you. So you don't have to come in and save them every time. You are not the only person who is able to help them. They have someone that they can go back to for other things, so you don't have to overgive. So that was the first thing that really helps. See everybody as their own package, and including you, and don't give immediate access to people, especially if they aren't people who make you feel amazing, make you feel like you can build and grow. The other thing is to not pansy to them in conversation. So they will take the conversation to certain places and expect certain things of you. You don't have to follow them. That was a big one for me, because again, I felt like I had to follow their lead to make them feel validated, and it really hurt me to see them very insecure and in their head. And so I would basically enable them in this cycle of thinking. And as I'm growing and leveling up my consciousness, I'm starting to realize more and more all these constrictive energies and tangents and topics that they bring up. You don't have to follow them there. And this is what I mean about reframing them. It doesn't mean that you don't love them any less. It does not mean you love them any less by not enabling them or immediately validating every idea that they have. And being able to take certain topics off the table as well. Like you don't have to reply to everything. I did another video recently which was called Own the Conversation, and it's about holding your pose, being comfortable in silence, and how that can be really, really transformative in your conversations and in your relationships. It's enough to just stay present and hear them. You don't have to agree with them. You don't even have to verbally reply. And there might be a moment of discomfort. The other person will definitely feel uncomfortable because they realize you're not interacting in the same way. But then it brushes over, then it washes over. And you can use some really graceful phrases depending on the topics that you're talking about. You can say, I know this is really hard for you, but this isn't something I'm comfortable discussing. Or you can just kind of nod, take it in, let it wash out of your body, and then change the subject again, quite gracefully, not abruptly. Or yeah, I've just found basically what's happening in a lot of these scenarios is the other person might say something that just comes to their head, and it's very often a limiting belief, like, oh, I hate doing this, or this is really hard. And what they're doing is they're speaking immediately as it comes up. And as we know through meditation and doing our own personal journey, that we can't trust our thoughts. So where I've always been someone who will filter things through my body, through my mind before I say anything. So by the time I say something, I've vetted it 20 different times. It took me a long while to realize that's not how everybody works. And these types of people can very often just say whatever comes up. And this is a blessing, because it means that for us, what we say is more expensive than what they say. So their words, their thoughts, I think there's a phrase, words are cheap. Their words are quite cheap. And this is great, because that means if you ignore it, they're very quickly going to get over it, because a thought's come up, they've immediately said it, you don't reply, and then another thought's come up, and then they'll immediately think or say that. And like, there's just a cycle to it. You're not invalidating a really deep core part of them a lot of the time. I mean, certain scenarios you're in a bit of a deeper conversation, and we're not talking about those kinds of conversations right now. We're talking about the day-to-day, a lot of the little comments that people make while you're in conversation that can just drag your energy down or trigger you back. So yeah, it's really important to remember that it's not that you're loving them any less. The love you're giving is by staying present in you and hearing them. Because the other thing I do is I would not stay present. I would get triggered. I feel really trapped. I feel like, yes, I have to agree with them. I have to say a certain thing. And then energetically, I'm somewhere else. And that's maybe one of the worst things I could do, because I took away my great gift of being present for this person. So just, even if it's negative, let them, you don't have to respond, you don't have to validate them, just hear them, accept, and even if they're not thinking or talking on a deep level, feel them at a deep level. So they're saying all these things which are maybe limiting beliefs, and just hold that place of compassion of, I know you're giving yourself mental agony. This isn't a real problem. So just hold that space for them, that grace as they move through the motions of their mind. Remember that they're not as conscious as you, so they don't have the same emotional or mind control that you do. And the love is really just being present. Let them pour into you. You don't have to say a word if you don't want to, and I really encourage you not to, because this is a really potent way of regathering your energy and having a strong presence. So really try and practice that if you can. And yeah, just stay present with them. Let it wash through your body. Don't let it get stuck. If it's uncomfortable for you, feel that discomfort. Let it move in and out. And prioritize your growth and ascension above everything else. The other thing I found helps is, if you're going to spend the day with them, figure out your container, your boundaries, what you're available for, what you're not beforehand. So how long you want to spend with them, what you want to do, even if you're not decided on what you want to do yet. Get an idea of what you want to do first, so you can connect to what makes you happy, and then you'll be at a better place to negotiate the day with them. Because usually what I would do is I go, oh, I'm stuck with this person for a day, so I have to kind of do whatever they do, because they don't have high enough consciousness to, I had a whole storyline around it. But essentially what I would do is I would basically give myself, and then when I was in front of the person, I can no longer tap into what felt good and what didn't, and what I wanted to do and what I didn't. I just completely lose myself, and then that would make me spiral. So it's really a good practice to think about, if I was alone right now, what would I do? What would I want to do? And then bring that into the conversation, rather than trying to plan for the both of you and incorporate both of you at the same time. So I hope this has helped. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.